Hello and welcome back to the fourth tutorial in our series. It's been quite a while since we've done one. Apologies for that, but sometimes life gets in the way, as I'm sure you know. Today we're going to be having a look at split points. And as I mentioned in the introduction, way back in tutorial 1, one of the features of this particular keyboard, the 5D, is that you can create split points, which is fantastic because it gives you the option of playing, for instance, like a bass guitar sound in the left hand and a melody in the right. So lots of options. We're going to go through that. We're going to show you how to change the split point and the sort of instrumentation you can put on either side of that split. In tutorial 5, which is also coming up, we'll be talking about, I guess, a tip for the live musician, and that tip is about what to do in an emergency when all else fails and you're really stuck and you need a sound in a hurry and you've got a whole lot of lights in front of you and things flashing, but in that sort of panic mode when the sound you wanted isn't happening. What can you do to instantly get a piano or an organ sound or strings or something that'll get you immediately out of trouble in a live situation? So that's all coming up. Okay, so we're going to start off by creating a program that I can, I'll call it Split Point, seeing as that's what we're doing. And create a split point and how you can assign various instruments to either side of that split. So I'm just going to go through on the program menu dial until I get to an empty program. Doesn't matter where it is. That'll be fine. Empty program. I'll rename it and I'll call it Split Point. Now you might remember in a previous tutorial I showed you how to do this, but it's basically holding the Shift key down and pressing the store button and then renaming it. So by turning again the program menu dial, I'm looking for a capital S. It helps if you know your alphabet. I find myself having to sing it. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, even now. But there you go. Split. Just call it split maybe. So I've just called it split. So store it. We've got a program that's called split. So that's where I'm going to be showing you how to do these split points. Having created the name split within the program mode, now I'm going to show you how to create a split point. I'm going to be using two parts of the keyboard or two functions of the keyboard to do that. The first says KB split, keyboard split, and then you've got the program menu dial. So a combination of these two buttons or pots or whatever we want to call them creates the split point. So by pressing the KB split, a couple of things happen. You'll see that the keyboard split goes on up here, says it's on, then it goes off again, but it's on because the green light's on. And you'll also see that one of these lights will light up. I don't know where your keyboard is at the moment in terms of its position, but one of those lights will light up for you. That's where your current keyboard split position is. And as you can see, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different possible positions for the keyboard split. How do we change them? I'm just going to use one hand because if I use my right hand it'll get in the way of the camera. But if you hold the keyboard split button down and move or twist the program menu knob, you'll notice that the keyboard split light goes up and down the keyboard and you can obviously decide where you want the split to occur. Most of the stuff I'm doing, I have the keyboard split quite low, so I have it in that E position there, or I take it down perhaps to the B position, to the note B. Just depending on the range of, in my case, bass guitar that I want. More often than not, I'm in that E position, and I'll leave it there for the case of this this demonstration. So I've held the keyboard split button down, I've moved the program menu dial until I've located the position where I want the keyboard split to be. That's the first step. Okay, so we've created the split position, which in this case is sort of in the EF section of the keyboard. Now, if you look at the program area of the keyboard, you'll notice there's a lower part and an upper part. Now, those parts relate to the keyboard split position. So in the lower part is everything to the left of that keyboard split light, and in the upper part it's everything to the right of the keyboard split light. Within each of these parts we can change the instrumentation to a certain level at least. We can't have the same type of instrument in both sections. So we can't have, for instance, a piano, a grand piano in the top section and the upper section, and a Wurlitzer piano in the lower section, because they're both in the piano family, and it won't let us split the same sort of instrument. That'll become more apparent as we go. So I've set the split point, as you can see. I have an organ selected for the lower part and a piano selected for the upper part. I'm going to go up the keyboard and you'll hear the organ sound being the lower part up to the E, and then from the F you'll hear the upper sound kick in, which in our case is the piano. So I'll start down here, you'll hear an organ, and then you'll hear the piano after the split point. So there you go. As soon as I got to the F, the piano sound kicked in, our split point. Let's say, for instance, I wanted not an organ sound in that left or lower section, but a bass guitar. Well, in that case, I go to the lower part section here in the program module, and I'd select a synthesizer. Now, the bass guitars are in the synthesizer section, and I've selected one here that I use a fair bit. It's 88. It could be one of quite a few bass guitars that you decide to perhaps dial up here, but I'll leave it at 88 for now. Here's what it sounds like. So it's kind of an all-round sort of bass guitar sound. This is a more common split for me with the way I work, because I like to have a bass and I like to play piano with my right hand. But any combination is possible, as I said, limited to the fact that you need two separate types of instruments. So I've got synthesizer, I've got piano. Let's have a listen to that. Same sort of thing. I want to talk a little bit more about the way Nord names things. I've talked about families because I've talked about a family of sounds in the lower part, a family of sounds in the upper part, and you can't have the same family in the lower and upper section. Maybe I should have said sections, because while there are three names here, organ, piano, synth, on each of the upper and lower parts, so too we have the organ section, the piano section, and the synth section, which is just this bit here. Look, it's awkward in a way talking about a bass guitar in a synth section, because as we're all keyboard players, and as keyboard players we know that a synthesizer is usually a particular type of sound, and we don't associate it normally with a bass guitar sound. But with Nord, a synthesizer is just a system whereby you can produce any sort of sound you like, and some of them will be bass guitar sounds. So we just need to expand our understanding of what a synth is as far as Nord goes, and just think of it as is that place you'd go to for any multitude of sounds that you'd like to create. So just, recapping, when you've got the lower part, you can use an organ bank of sounds, maybe I could say that, the piano bank of sounds, the synth bank of sounds, and you can do that on the upper part as well, but you can't have the same sound for each, or the split point won't work. Let me show you. If I have the organ sound selected on the lower part and have the organ sound selected on the upper part, the split point is there, as you know. It won't sound any different because you've selected the same family of sounds, the same module of sounds for each of the upper and lower parts. It kind of makes sense. So in order for that split point to take effect, obviously, you've got to have a different family of sounds in each of those two sections. So in this example, I'll go to synth, which is, in my case, number 88, and I'll go to piano on the upper part, and the piano sound that I've asked for is a grand piano number 1. So I've got bass and piano. Bass and piano together. And that's one of the key features of the Nord, being able to split the keyboard and assign instruments to either the upper or lower part. So what I've just done is shown you that in the left hand side, the lower part, I've got a synth, which is bass number 88, and I've got in the upper part a piano, which in this case is a grand piano number 1. I want you to have a look at the window, the display for the program section, and you can actually see that this Italian Grand XL is one of the instruments I've selected, which of course is the upper section, and the Fender Precision fingered dampened bass is in the lower part. So it actually tells you there. If I was to change, for instance, the piano to an organ, and I go like that, so I've changed it from piano to organ, you can see up here that instead of the piano showing as it was, you've got the drawbars of the organ showing. So it's indicating graphically that you've got an organ happening. And of course those drawbars are actually reflecting here the reality of this. So as you move these things, so too do the drawbars on the graphic reflect that. So it's a pretty cool thing. So just remember that, if you're ever unsure, you can always look at the program window and you can see which instruments you've selected. At the moment, as I said, Fender Precision fingered bass, dampened, is 88. If I change that to 87, don't know if you saw that because my hand was probably in the way, but if you change it from 88 to 87, it changes to ladder bass. Completely different. So it indicates visually what that number represents. Really handy. I'll go back to 88, simply because I like that sound better, and I'll go back to piano in the right hand side. Now just as I showed you then that you can change the synth or bass sound in the lower part by simply dialing in a different number here for the synth, so too can you change the piano sound. I've got piano selected here, remember. You can change the piano sound for the upper part of the keyboard. At the moment it's an Italian Grand XL, but I can turn that into an electric piano 1 or 2. And within each of these types of pianos, you've got different models. So for example, in electric piano 1, number 1, that's what it sounds like. Number 2 sounds quite different. 3, 4, bit more attack. on-note sound, more of a whirly sound, Wurlitzer sound. So not every one of these banks has 4 or 5 or 6, in this case 8 um, types, but you'll find that whatever type of piano you select, be it electric piano 2 or clavichord, harpsichord, grand or upright, you'll have a number of different types of sounds within that instrument that you can select. So you're not stuck with anything. I don't know, I haven't added it up, but there's quite a lot of piano sounds there. So what I've done is split the keyboard, shown you how to change the split point, talked a little bit about what a lower part and an upper part is in relationship to where the split point is. I've shown you that in either case, upper or lower, you can change the instrument. In the example I've given you, I've changed the bass guitar a bit, and I've changed the piano sound a bit on the upper part. As I said, 9 times out of 10 when I'm actually performing, I've got the split point pretty well where it is, sometimes lower but never higher. I have it always around there. I'm always using some form of bass guitar in my left hand, and I'm always using some form of piano sound in my right hand.